Those last 5 seconds last about an hour.
They really do, don't they? I thought it was just me. I'm like, woo, we are still waiting. Hey, everybody.
We're ready. We're ready. Timer, we're done here. Can we
Right.
just...
Like our nerves are over. Like I used that, before, remember when we used to like start the timer or start the countdown and then start the stream like super late.
like, no, I'm still panicking.
Right,
Can we
I'm
just...
still
Okay,
panicking. I'm still
yeah.
panicking.
What am I doing again?
Oh, goodness. Yes.
Talking about what are we doing. So we're joined by Kimball today, who is from Appsembler.
Yay. Thanks for joining us,
So we're
Kimball.
going to talk about what is Appsembler, what are virtual labs, what a chef doing with virtual labs, and what is Learn Chef. We'll do a little bit of Learn Chef. I think Kimball's got a little demo we've got a little planned, which should be super, super cool. But first of all, we'll do our pre-flight checks so I can get my words out of my mouth, and I'll let Kaya take over.
Sure, absolutely. So, as you know, if you follow this show and you're not following us on Twitter, what are you doing? As a matter of fact, wait. Kimball, I don't even know if we even talked about your Twitter. Like, I'm thinking
I
about
don't
this.
think we have. My Twitter is DRRK.
Yeah, put it in the chat and I'll shout you out on Twitter. But as far as Chef's Twitter goes, you'll find great things like our planned outages. Well, great things like our planned outages, right? When we're gonna go live, our webinars and stuff that we have planned, and all types of social chef stuff. Definitely follow Dan on Twitter. Dan is the what would you call yourself on Twitter, Dan?
I'm now just a lurker. It's quite funny. So I was like really prolific on Twitter, doing lots of tweets all the time, doing a lot of doom scrolling, I would call it, because all the stuff happened in the world, and I was like, you know what, I'm cool. I actually am just gonna like disconnect a little bit and stop scrolling. So I uninstalled it from my phone, and I'm like, my Twitter usage has gone through the floor, which is mad. But as a result, the content I am putting out is more like how-to videos and short little like 1-minute snippets of chef stuff, which is quite cool.
Yeah,
so that
that's pretty cool.
it bites of that.
It's effective. It's an effective Twitter strategy.
That's way more effective than mine. I just like look at Twitter. I hardly post. I respond to people sometimes. I try and retweet things that are like important and stuff. I try and I don't have much of a profile, but I boost what I can.
Yeah,
I think that's really important.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Like just making sure that the right things get seen, right, and like pushing the algorithm. Awesome. And y'all follow Kimball on Twitter. It's at the bottom of the screen here. I kind of do the same thing. Right now I'm reposting chef stuff, but I have on my to-do list like a series of like learn blank in 10 tweets. So
okay.
Yeah. Look out for that. Also, everybody, practitioners, DevOps, novice, if you use Chef, if you are interested in using Chef, if you have ever considered using Chef, please check out our community Slack because there's a wealth of knowledge there. It's a bunch of folks that are smart and that are passionate about Chef. You can ask your questions. And, what we've actually started doing is sometimes pulling questions from community Slack and bring them into our streams. That's what we did for our Habitat office hours. And I feel like it was great. I think we should start doing that some more,
Yeah, some of our content, like some of the how-to videos of some of the streams we've been doing in the past. I'm going to segue in a second to streams. It's been kind of interesting. I was like, oh, there's been a really nice, interesting discussion about policy files. Like, right, we're going to do a section on policy files because it's quite clearly a gap in the community and people don't really understand.
sure.
And there's been like old. Say old. I mean, how long ago, Kimball, did you do your policy file stuff?
Oh my, those policy files videos are 2-3 years old.
Yeah. So we're just
Yeah.
kind of refreshing content, and some of the
Yeah.
content we've refreshed is our own actually as well.
I never
Right.
finished the series as well, which was a huge burden on me that I never finished that series.
Yeah. So talking about streaming, so we are going to cut down on
Yeah.
our streaming schedule because we've been pumping out a lot of content recently, and we're going to look at what content really works for us. So this kind of stuff really works for us in the community. We're gonna be like sort of reevaluate that kind of stuff. So at the moment, we're gonna continue with our planned streams, and then we'll sort of let people know when we're doing the new streams, which is pretty cool. And which just means you won't get to see my pretty face as much. I'm so sorry.
Aww.
It's probably for the best.
You know, we'll miss you guys, but we'll still see you guys. So
Yeah, because we'll be in the community Slacks,
Yeah,
and
for
we'll be in
sure.
Discourse as well.
Yes, discourse, longer form. You know what? It's our version of what Stack Overflow, pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm old enough. I still remember it as the chef mailing list.
The chef mailing list. Oh, like
Yeah.
for community meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a long time that I was using Chef. Long time.
Yeah. Like, take us through that. Like, you worked for Chef once upon a time.
I did. I worked for Chef for about 6 years, but I'd been using Chef for quite some time before that. When I first used Chef, and I was trying to remember exactly what year it was, but Chef still hadn't released like a version 1. It was still 0.9.
You were 0.9.
Yeah, 0.9. There was the documentation was still the wiki.
Yep.
And in fact, even the wiki was kind of limiting. So the early stage of learning Chef, I read the source code because that was how you learned how things worked. If you needed to understand the intricacies of what something strange was going on, you read the source code, and it moved on so fast. And community Slack didn't exist. We used IRC. And we had the mailing list, which was, I think it was like a mailman or something. It was very kind of old school Unix.
Wow.
And it was great. And it was a really good community, and it just built up and it built up and it built up. And then I started working for Chef. I was trying to actually look up and get the dates of when I actually started working for Chef, but it was when I moved down to London. So it was over. I've been living here for 6-7 years. So
Okay.
it was over 7 years ago that I started working for Chef Things, and I think I'd been using it for a while before that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's sort of it came on, but yeah, it was a good journey, absolutely a good journey, and it was really fun. And I made my little collection of swag and things and stuff related to what I do.
Yes,
I actually have a drawer.
You have a drawer,
and it is like almost entirely full of Chef t-shirts.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Like
there's a bit in my wardrobe that's just Chef t-shirts.
Yeah.
Chef goes hard on swag. I've got a lot of Chef swag too, and I've been here almost a year. Yeah.
So we were talking about the Appsembler mug, which is to the top right of your head kind of thing, which is the only one of a kind at the minute.
Yeah, it's one of a kind at the moment. I mean, we are. It's definitely we have Appsembler. We're a very small company. We've not really got much of a swag game going. But the odd bits and pieces, and so my manager got this for me so that I had something of Appsembler branded. I couldn't just have Chef Things on the stream; it wouldn't be right. So.
Right.
It's good to see that up there.
No, it's good.
So I think we should just jump into it. Let me just go and get my. So I was going to say, what is a Kimball, or who are you? So the background is you've been using Chef, and you've been in the Chef community for a while. You used to do our jobs at one point.
Yep,
I did. I was a developer advocate at Chef. That was kind of my third job at Chef. Before that, I was in the training team. I was developing training material for Chef. I was doing a lot of delivering training material. It was quite a fun job, and even that, like, the reason I got into it was not particularly because I had this big love of training and what have you. That came later. What it was is that before even I was in training as Chef, I was in customer success, and so I used to deliver the training a lot, and as well as like helping out customers and like building out kind of helping them with their infrastructure, like the long-term plans and everything. I did a lot of work with sort of the bank customers, and in fact worked with Dan as a customer as well.
It was once or twice. I can't
Twice, I
remember.
think.
Yeah,
Twice, I think. Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah. But one of the things I've been finding is that as I was sort of doing the training and stuff, I found I was more and more kind of like working with John Fitzpatrick at the time to improve what we had. You know, lots of tweaking and what have you. I got asked to do training at the conferences a few times, and after that, I was like, you know what? I think this is what I want to do. I want to change what I'm doing and move away from the individual customer kind of more bespoke things to like, let's get something more generic, work on things that are more generic, being able to actually kind of bring this knowledge, especially what I've learned from the customers, and bring it into to everybody and stuff. And over time, that's found like it's really become my passion, is like enabling people, making people in technology's lives easier, like making it so that they don't have to spend as much time. You know, it can be a hard life, you know, very long hours working in technology. And so anything that I can do to make that easier is something. And that's what actually in the end brought me on to working for Appsembler, because working for a platform that creates, that you know, builds that training platform to make it easy for people to be able to produce this training material. It was such a big deal for me. So
it kind of like nicely segues onto like what is Appsembler. So you mentioned it's a training platform, which so we're using it at Chef, and I think there's quite a few other users of it around the world. So there's Kong. I think you got Kong. Chef,
Kong.
To mention a few.
We've got. I'm trying to think of who's the publicly ones. Redis Labs is on it. Snowflake are using it. And then a few others that are less. There's a few universities that use it and what have you. But it's what we point to. So originally it started off, we have we're a provider of hosted Open edX, but that really doesn't describe what we do, because it's so much more than that. Like lots of people say, oh well, anyone can host Open edX. There's nothing special. But like, there's a couple of things about that. One is that we're actually running 3 Open edX clusters, 3 Open edX instances, and they cluster in such a way that you can't tell. So we've got all the resiliency and stuff, which is important. But we've also built our own platform on top of it, which we call Tahoe. And that allows us to not just provide the course materials, but also to provide the site, the ability to have static pages that like give you that kind of that like the sort of auxiliary things. I know that, for example, Chef has the tracks page that allows people to figure out the right path through the courses, rather than just being presented with a bunch of courses that they work on.
And that seems really sensible and really obvious. And then you're like, well, how do people choose which courses they go to? Is a really curated experience, isn't it?
It's
like, all right, we've got within Learn Chef, which we'll see in a second, we've kind of got the testing track, like all the things related to testing, and those courses aren't just in spec. So when they get curated together, there's a whole host of work that goes behind that, deciding what to do, what not to do, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and that really is a big thing about it, and of course edX being built for that kind of the massive online courses. For those, like learning paths and tracks and stuff weren't so important, because you have a huge catalog of courses, but people that are doing them are generally going to do a course or then the follow-up course, but it's not really it's not the same thing. It's not short form courses where you need to know the right what, and you need to you've got several products within a company, so it's really important to build on kind of that thing, that pathing on. And then after a while of doing that, Appsembler decided because with one of their customers, they decided they wanted to extend what they had, and they wanted to build on this ability to give a sandboxed environment of the customer software that you can embed into the courses, allowing you to have that kind of hands-on element without having to download it and install it. Now, and this is a really big thing as well. A lot of you often find it with bank customers and what have you. They can't install software on their machine, but you want them to be able to learn how to use it. And so by providing the software in a sandbox environment that's accessed through a web browser, that makes it a really adds to the value and makes it much easier to consume, and allows you to go through those hands-on examples and get more benefit. And I think that's a really important part of learning. It's like you don't want to just lecture someone. If you just lecture someone, they're gonna get bored and turn off. Likewise, I think short form courses are really important. Like, it's one thing, you can have an instructor-led course, you can dedicate 3 days to go through it, and that's great if you've got the time to do it. But if you're evaluating software, or if you are just trying to you're onboard a new member of the team that needs to be able to be doing multiple things, they need to be able to just have quick bites of being able to learn a little bit, think about it, see how they're using it in their own work, and then move on, and then come to another bit later on. So spending like 20 minutes on a bit of training rather than several hours or days is a huge benefit, and that's one of the things that we're really pushing.
So I've seen people use InSpec in interesting ways, and they haven't fully written an InSpec, and I was like, maybe I could just push them to just learn Chef, and they would get better at writing InSpec tests within 20 minutes, maybe even 10. You can skip over some of it and be like, actually, the thing I need to know is how do I do that? Like, why am I doing a thing? How do I do it properly?
Exactly.
It really gives you that. It's kind of like what other forms of learning. So like the reason why this channel exists is to help people get better at what they do. So like having different mediums is always helpful, and different lengths of courses is just super important.
For sure.
Sorry, Kate.
No, go ahead. I mean, I was just agreeing with what Dan said. Like the different mediums, like people learn differently. So
he touched on something that was really important, though, is like the why are you learning this? Because presenting information alone isn't really, that's not helpful. You've got to understand the why. You've got to think about the why and that, and the why is multifaceted as well, of course. We've talked a bit about training and what have you, but the other use of training, and I know it's a big thing for Chef, because it was, I talking a little bit about my background, I was responsible for the rebrand, the Learn Chef as it is now compared to the Learn Chef Rally. That was my project to do when I was at Chef. And one of the things that's really important about it is not just the prospect of teaching the people that have already bought Chef or already using Chef how to use it better, but it's also a way of getting new people to know about Chef. It's like in that kind of that developer marketing type of strategy where software purchases these days are often made from the ground up rather than from the top down. And you need to capture the developer's interest, and so having these courses that let them play around and show that they can solve a problem. Like one of the things I talk about a lot, and we're really getting into sort of some of the things I was going to talk about a little bit later, but like the time to that first aha moment, like you're using a little bit of software and you're going through it and you're playing with it and you go, that's going to solve that problem. And trying to reduce that time as much as possible is really important to keep people engaged and to show how your software is useful. And I think that was one of the things that we had on Learn Chef. There's a few courses which were there's Try Chef and Try InSpec and stuff. I don't know if they're still there, but they were designed to be these very quick introduction, get going really, really fast. I think they may have ended up getting built into the kind of the beginning of the longer course.
There have been Chef Infra Fundamentals, and I think there's 2 courses there I think we're talking about. Let me just check. So you can jump onto learn.chef.io and have a look. But then they're built into two of the Chef 101 and the Inspec 101 courses.
Yeah.
Which is really nice because, like, if you can get that information into people's heads and really quickly, and that's what I think we'll jump into the virtual lab soon enough. So I can see you scrolling around in the background.
Yeah, this one
is.
Yeah,
Sorry, go on.
The Chef 101 is not really going into the doesn't have any of the actual like teaching bit, but I think it's like at the beginning of the managing your fleet with Chef Infra course.
Okay.
Yeah, this one. Yeah, we get started with Chef Infra. Like, so this was originally this course. If you want to show my screen, this course here. Like, so we've got the introduction and the get started. This part was originally just like a standalone part, and it very quickly gets you, install the Chef workstation. This one was never hands-on, shows you what you need to do, and gets you into a position where very quickly you are using Chef. So you've got a test environment. We generate a very quick cookbook, and we go through that stuff, and by the end of it, we've in a few steps we've configured a web server, and we're able to see like how easy it was to create a web server and to do it. And it's like this whole thing is like 5 steps, and in 5 steps you can see, wow, with very simple commands I can bring up a web server, and you talk a little bit how you can manage multiple web servers, and it shows you that, like, yeah, I can see this is going to solve a problem for me really, really quickly. And I think that's really important. I like the same way. So if I got over here, this is the Inspec course. This is the one that I rewrote. And it's designed to very quickly give you the background. What is testing? What are we doing? Like, why is this important? Talking about this. And then we go through, like, okay, so we know what testing is. What specifically is infrastructure testing? Like, scoping it down, making people understand the domain. So have that background so you know what's going on. And it goes on a lot. There's like, in some ways, I feel like this is a little bit more. There's a bit more than we should really have in kind of the introductory, and a bit too much before we're hands-on. But it's also really important to understand, break down like what's testing, what's infrastructure testing, what's compliance testing. So people really understand what they're doing. They know they're in the right place. They know that the stuff they're doing is going to help. And then also the really important bit, like this is the first bit that even without the hands-on moment will give that aha. Is like, why you automate it. A little bit of stuff about why automating. But then we go on to the next part and we show the product. And we talk a little bit about what's there. There's some examples here of what there is. But it's all very kind of still very dry. But once we get onto it,
right, then we get into
actually then click the launch the lab. Now I have already launched my lab, and it's over here. So you've got here. It's an environment. It's just a Linux environment. You can, it's not any kind of. Let me find the right thing. Yeah, it's not any kind of like sandbox. It's actually a proper Linux terminal. So you're able to do whatever. But what we can do then is we can follow through the steps, and it tells you the things to do. And you can see, okay, I need to run this inspec init command, so I can run that, and it will go through and it will run the actual command, and you'll see that the output's the same, and you're able to work through the steps. We have a look and see what's in it. And what have you. I think
what's really nice about the virtual labs, if I can, before I get any deeper, because you can get real deep real quick with this one, is I think it's really nice to be able to, like, oh, how do I try this without installing Ruby on my machine? How do I try this without installing Inspec on my machine? Like, how do I learn this? Because if I've got to go, let's say I work in a corporate IT environment, and I want to have Inspec on my machine to try it out, that could be a change request that could take 3 weeks. Or I haven't got permissions to install anything on my machine. So how do I learn about this product that gets me there? How do I learn about the benefits of infrastructure testing? And then I can go like, yeah, we need infrastructure testing because like these things I can do, and this is how I do it. And it feels really good as a new person to be like, oh, this is so nice. Like I can click this thing and I can have a lab up and running straight away.
Yeah.
And we manage it all. Well, I say we manage it all. Between the three of us, we manage it all.
Yeah. Absolutely. But what I think at the moment, though, and I love what we've got, and I think it's brilliant, and a lot of companies are using it really, really well. But it's a sandbox. Like, we provide the ability for you to create somewhere that you can run your software. That in itself isn't really a learning tool. That's a way of running some software. And I've been really thinking, and this is something that we've been thinking as we've been developing the next generation of Appsembler virtual labs. We've been really thinking about what makes a learning tool, what makes hands-on a learning tool. And I've sort of talked about some, like, and I've done this, I've created for an internal document, so I can't share it, but I can talk about some of the things we've talked about in it. And there's four kind of things where hands-on learning is really helpful. Having the ability to launch software. So there's reinforcement of topics in training, like what we're showing there with, you've got a training course, you want to be able to do it and stuff. There's testing and examination. So the chef certification exam at the moment is just multiple choice, but how much better it'd be if there were some hands-on elements to it as well. And I think that's really important. There's that rapid experience of the product, that time to aha moment, the ability to throw something onto a blog post, get people to like look through it and stuff, and actually do it rather than just watch a video.
Yeah.
And then there's software trials in general, which at first glance doesn't seem like it's something that you would consider a learning activity. Like trialing software isn't really
it is, though, isn't it? Really,
it is.
But it is. Well, yeah, and I come with that. So as I was going through all these things, I was like, topic reinforcement. Well, what do you need to have for a topic reinforcement? Well, you need to have a task that's self-contained. So it's a short task. Everything's set up in advance so that you're ready to go straight into it, and that the learner understands like what's going on, and all the prerequisites are there for them. You need to have clear goals. People need to know what they're doing. So you need to be able to write down what they need to do, and kind of enclose that, and like be again back to that small short stub. And then you need to give feedback. People need to know if they followed the task. Have they done the right thing? It's all very well giving them a bunch of commands to type in, but if they don't know that they've done the right thing through whatever method, it's not really helpful. And so then
they can open the virtual labs and then just hit enter a few times, look around and be like, cool, I'm done here.
Yeah.
And get literally nothing from it, because if they haven't got a goal, they don't know why they're doing it. And then like going back to your testing, like the certifications at the end of it, like how do I know if I've written the right test? How do I know if I've written the right, let's say, you mentioned Redis, like how do I know if I've created the right queue?
Yeah.
With the right parameters.
Exactly.
Like how do I know that?
Yeah. And segue there into testing. So I thought about, well, what's testing? What's important for testing? Well, you need to establish a scenario so that whatever it is you're wanting to test on is the thing that's testing on. You don't want to have people doing a whole load of prerequisites just to then test something, because if they make a mistake in the prerequisites, then they might not actually be able to perform the test, and that's not a fair test.
Yeah.
So that's really important. You want them to be scoped clearly so that the learner knows what it is they're supposed to be creating as part of the test. And then you need to mark that test, which should be automatic. This sounds very similar to the previous things. You set it up, you have clear goals, and you have feedback. And then I was thinking about the rapid product experience. And again, a very small bounded scenario. It's got to feel as easy as possible, because one of the things really important is that you need to have an emotional connection, a strong, positive emotional connection when you're evaluating software, because that will, if you're feeling good, then the software will stick. It'll stick in your mind. It's a big marketing thing. It's even talked about in the movie Inception. When they're talking about Inception, they turn what they're trying to do into an emotional choice, so that the decision made is strong. So you need to make sure that the whole experience is positive. So that means really simple, really clear goals, and again, feedback, knowing that the thing they've done is the thing that they were meant to be achieving. Giving people, if they make a mistake as they're going through the steps, immediately saying, no, that's wrong, you need to do it this way. so that they're really understanding.
Right.
And again, it's those same things. You need to be able to set something up. You need to be able to give clear goals, and you need to have feedback on it. And that's what brought me to trials. Because a software trial that's just open-ended, what do you do? Like, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know how. You don't know anything about the software you're trialing. So what do you do? So I feel like a software trial is actually really just a training course. You start off with that rapid product experience, your idea of saying, hey, this is the quick thing that you'll make you want to look more into this software, that rapid thing, that aha moment. And then we'll take you through some of the main features of what the software can do. That's a training course, training material. And then finally, we want to test that you've understood what's going on. It's not going to be a formal examination, but you want to set up these questions for people to try this thing. Here's a little bit of an area. Here's some stuff you might do. Have a go and see what it does. And then the examination is not kind of a marking scheme, but more of here is a bunch of questions that you should think about as you're doing it and feel like you've got the right thing. And so it made me realize as I was doing it that all of these things are connected. And so what we need to build as a product is something that, irregardless of the technology behind it, we are fulfilling this kind of flow of being able to create scenarios, make sure people have really clear goals. And that's why I talk about us having a platform, not a pair of products, because it's really important that the whole, the bit of courses and the text and the or the blog post or whatever is all integrated into the labs and whatever way you want to produce that hands-on experience, and they're not disconnected, they're part of the same thing. And this is like what I was saying, I want to make people's lives easier, and like I feel like this is really important for that.
Yeah, that's no small feat, though.
Go.
You know, like that's no small feat. Like what? Like I think that those goals are amazing, and I've actually used. I had the pleasure of using Appsembler and creating the PowerShell course.
Yeah.
Oh,
is it out yet? Is it out yet? Oh, hang on.
It is. It is out yet.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it is out already. Is it out yet?
That's amazing.
But I think that the process was pretty smooth. I really, and I felt like it was really user friendly. I felt empowered to make the decisions that I wanted to make within the course and how I wanted to, have our users learn. It was a lot of flexibility there, but there's still like I could tell, the user experience is as such that there's like a flow that it should go, but there's still flexibility as well. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, we absolutely make sure that like structure is
it's just Skype or Teams like having an argument with you in the background. I can see that this is the oh my god, why is Teams doing this to me again?
But yeah, we kind of, the structure of edX forces you have to think, you've got to build like the section, subsection, and unit. You have to think about structure, but it's flexible enough that you can kind of just do it. You can just have one section and subsection and a bunch of units. You could even just have one, if you really wanted to, and I would not recommend it, have one big long unit that you have to scroll and scroll and scroll through. But it's designed to like it's flexible whilst like giving like guiding people in the right way, and I think that's really important. Yeah,
because I think authoring courses is super hard. Yeah, I mean, so authoring courses is really, really, really hard. So like the more we can encourage people to do, the more we can encourage the authors to like, here's an easy way to do it. Like these are labs, and like this makes our learners happier because they get to see the software actually in practice rather than just read it, aka being lectured to.
Yeah,
like we saw a couple of those pages. Like there were 3 pages where like what is testing, what is infrastructure testing, what is compliance testing. We need those. Those are like, there's a very useful background, but actually, like the learner is kind of done by that point. Like, thank you for lecturing to me. Can I go and click some buttons now?
Yeah.
Like there's a point where you're like, ooh, on the edge.
Yeah, and you can extend on that as well. Like right now, it's a bunch of walls of text, but that could very easily be a video, but which would be more accessible to some people and not to others. But one of the great things about the platform is that if you have a video and you put the transcript of the video onto the video, you can read the transcript. You can click on the transcript and jump to sections of the video, and you can search, and it will search the transcripts of all the videos as well. So it's a really big thing, and we never I obviously I had a lot of stuff going on, and I never managed to do videos on stuff on that at the time. But it's definitely like the ability to consolidate all those different medias is really, really important. And I think it's really key to think about that sort of thing in training, and a platform that is flexible enough to give you lots of different options is really key.
I think you touched on there, like the accessibility of learning. So some people prefer video, some people prefer text. We just got a request for one of our videos to be transcribed because it's got some really useful content in it. But not all people can watch videos. Not all people can just read text.
Right.
Some people prefer just audio everything because then they can put it at 2 speed and then they can learn the entire lot much quicker than they can read. So I've worked with quite a few partially sighted people now, and I'm always blown away by how quick they read and listen, and how quickly they can type, and all these kind of things. So, like making training accessible to I say partially sighted people, for example, then means that the whole platform is accessible for more people. Because let's say I prefer, let's say, text or audio. Actually, I prefer audio descriptions rather than reading because I'm a little bit lazy. But because we put now an audio description in for something, or we've audio transcribed something, for example, that means that because we've had to make it accessible for, let's say, a small audience, that means that everyone gets to benefit from that. So accessibility isn't just about the minority these days. It's about making the entire platform better.
Right.
I think there's a Double Stays London talk about it from about 3 or 4 years ago, which really opened my eyes to accessibility. Like accessibility isn't just about like pampering to 5 people. It's about making the platform more usable, making the product more usable for more people. Doesn't matter who they are.
No, absolutely.
I totally agree. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll get off my soapbox now. Yeah. But yeah, it's
a good thing as well too. We can they're segueing into talking about diversity as well, because that's why diversity is so important in companies. Is because the more types of people you have, the more ideas and the more things that will get thought of, because different people have different experiences, and so like all of these things are interrelated, and as a result, if you do the right thing, things get better for everybody. Why I don't understand why so many people don't do the right thing.
If you just hire like people who look like me and Kimball, as in like beards and white men, then you will just get like solutions that we can think of.
Yeah.
Because like we have a particular set of experiences of the world, and my wife will tell me that I'm wrong a lot, because I am a lot, but she'll see the same situations differently. And that's great. And that's very, very
it's all relative.
Exactly. Yeah. I say I'm wrong. I'm not I'm like, you might like jokingly say people are wrong, but you see it in a different way. You see things in a different light. So and you learn in a different way as well. So, and that's really useful. I think I really enjoyed going through the Appsembler lab, because I was like, oh, I can click this thing. I can try and break this. And like, well, it doesn't matter, because it's on a lab that will get refreshed after the end of the day. I can try this thing over here. I can do this, and all these things I can go and click on and investigate, which is not possible sometimes on your local machine. I personally really enjoyed that, and you don't see that too often. And I'm just trying to think back when I used to use Blackboard, and it's come on hugely since I used to use it and been admin of it, but virtual learning environments have come on huge amounts in the last 10 years, which is nice.
Yeah. And I mean, I just demonstrated one with just a basic terminal, but you can embed Visual Studio Code, Jupyter notebooks, whatever software you've got, it can all be embedded in there. I mean, you mentioned I work for Kong. They have the you can spin up the Kong environment. So you create you have the terminal window, but it's also running the Kong gateway, and so you've got all of the management console that you can click to in the things. And again, it's all that ability to have it in a safe environment. It doesn't matter if you break it because you can just hit reset.
Exactly. I mean, and that's super important. Like when you're learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you're evaluating, kind of like back to what you were saying earlier on about evaluating software.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, when I was evaluating Chef or like any product really, like it's so easy to break things when you don't know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're if you're learning, that's one thing. But if you're evaluating, you're kind of trying things out without having much guidance sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
And that can be actually quite helpful, because you're like, what happens if I click this thing? Well, what happens if I write a cookbook like this? Well, it doesn't work. But that's okay if it's not your environment.
Right. Exactly. If you're not doing trial by fire or your code.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay.
I think we're kind of starting to cool down now, which is nice. Do we have any questions from the audience that we'd like to share? I've got a couple of viewers over on Twitch at the moment. So yeah, I'll give you a couple of minutes to ask you questions if you want to Kimball whilst he's still around. You can ask him his favourite pie. Mine is apple pie. Basically any pudding, basically.
I have two different favourites on that one.
Okay, cool.
So from a sweet pie point of view, it's kind of absolutely 50-50 split between a cherry pie and then the kind of Dutch apple pie type, cinnamon and apples and raisins and things. So,
okay.
And that's absolutely 50 split. But savoury pie, really, really easy. A really good, hearty, like rich, deep steak pie. And it doesn't even actually need to be meat. It could be, you could do it with tofu and what have you as well, or mushrooms and stuff. As long as you get that really deep flavor, that kind of earthy flavor that you've had from like red meats and mushrooms and what have you and stuff.
Yeah, I've got some Prime Minister pies in the fridge. So the Prime Minister of this UK pie company who do some very nice pies. They're in the fridge, and I'm really getting hungry for them now.
In fairness, yesterday we just had Asda ones, and they were pretty cool. So pretty good too. So,
I think the closest that we really, I mean, I guess I've never really eaten a meat pie. I mean, I guess chicken pot pie, which is not my favorite. Good. But so I'm thinking like that must be a UK thing, like maybe.
Yeah, I think fully enclosing your casserole in pastry is a pretty UK thing, I think.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I have to look. So one of the things I have to put on my list to try when I'm in the UK is meat pies.
Definitely.
Oh, you know what though? Okay, I'm lying. Like patties. So in the Caribbean, you will have like meat patties. So it's kind of like a meat pastry,
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
I'm wondering if because things like empanadas come from Cornish pasties and whatever. I'm wondering if the Caribbean ones, if they again originally came from Cornish settlers, or if that's one that was independently created.
Okay.
That's an interesting.
Yeah. That's something to research.
Yeah.
Authentic Australian. Oh, so QBRD. So also, hey QBRD, we haven't seen you for ages.
Right.
There's a place here that made authentic Australian food. And they have meat pies. So Australian food for me is chips and battered. God, what's it? Brain's gone now. Not fish. What is fish? It's squid rings. So squid and
calamari.
Calamari. That's all I ate when I was in Australia for like 3 weeks. Is calamari everywhere.
I love calamari.
Everyone I was like, this is the most amazing calamari I've ever had. And they were like, sorry, do you not get calamari in the UK? And I was like, we do, just no one can cook it. Everyone in Australia can cook calamari like done.
Yeah, okay. Now, that's one of my faves. It's one of my faves. So I'll have to go to, I have to try calamari when I go to Australia. I've got all of these things that I'm gonna do when I go to these countries. I'm doing
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
before I die, I want to visit every country. Oh,
Yeah.
not every, but most of them. I've got a list.
I remember I was going to India for work. I was delivering a training course out there, and you have to put on the Indian visa form. You have to list every country you've been to in the last 4 years. And I actually ran out of room. Like the
Oh my
form
gosh.
wasn't big enough.
Nice.
But yeah, but I say
Everywhere. Just right everywhere.
Yeah,
Like,
just like
right.
all of the EU and a bunch of other places too.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, no,
awesome.
it's a good ambition though. I definitely agree with you on that one.
I mean, they totally are squid rings. They totally are squid rings.
I mean, technically, you're not wrong.
I mean, no, I don't know why my brain is like, you can have squid rings, but you cannot have word calamari. It's also calamari sounds way fancier.
It does. It does. It's like Target and Target.
Target. I've just put something in the microwave. Yeah, it took you a second. I was like, why?
Yeah, it did. It did.
Yeah. What else we got?
Cool.
Let me just try and think. I had a couple of very random questions. There's the IDE question. Should we ask the IDE question? I think it's going to be code. So, what is your favorite IDE, or just editor? So you can include Vim and Emacs in this as well.
I mean,
Emacs is like a whole world.
I mean, if we're going to go the Vim versus Emacs thing, controversial, but I've actually used both, but I do generally prefer Vim of the two. But frankly, I wouldn't use either of them unless I had to anymore. Visual Studio Code is what I use for almost everything.
There you go.
I like having an IDE. I like the shortcuts. I mean, I used to be a Java programmer, so having the editor type in all of the all of the boilerplate for me. I mean, back then I used what was it called? I can't remember. It's called JEdit or something. I can't remember. But it's the same people that make PyCharm and that commercial editor, which I know, but with the advent of Atom and then VS Code, VS Code is my go-to, especially as I run Windows 11 on my laptop. So the integration with WSL is just perfect. So I can type code blah in the Linux bit, in the Windows bit, and it all just works.
That's nice.
So I do love that. Yeah, I mean that's the other controversial question there: are Windows, Mac, or Linux as well? And I have all three, but
I think
Windows
depends. So
right.
So what would your data what is your out of those three? What is your most used daily driver for if you're just sitting at your desk and typing?
So I have on my desk both a Windows desktop and an iMac, and I have barrier set up so that I can use one keyboard and mouse across both of them.
Yep.
And so I use WSL all the time. So I am essentially using Windows, Mac, and Linux all the time as part of my daily job.
Yeah.
But that's come back to the training bit, because if I'm testing something, I want to test it. I want to test that it works on Windows. I want to test that it works on macOS. I want to test that it works on Linux. Like that little terminal window we've got. When I was developing the same one for Kong, we discovered that copy and paste and stuff worked differently if you were running on Windows or if you were running on macOS. And it took a long time. Eventually, I found the bug and found how to fix it and stuff. But it's things like that like using the same browser across all three actually works differently. So
it really does.
Yeah. And then I have my iPad as well, which also gets used heavily. So
let's not get started on running a Chrome browser on an iPad.
always. Safari is on my iPad. It never gets opened.
Yeah, but it's not really it's not even really like a real browser, or there's something that is about it that is is wonky on iPads. I mean, you can use it; it's usable, but it's just.
It's Safari or Chrome now? Sorry.
Yeah, it's not really Chrome.
It's not really Chrome.
It's Chrome wrapped around Safari, so I just use Safari.
Exactly.
That's fair enough.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
I have got Chrome on the iPad actually. I don't know. It's there, but I just don't use it very often.
Cool.
I think on our like downward turn towards the Chrome versus Safari window, I think we should wrap it up. I don't think we've got any more Squid Ring questions, which is nice. So I'm going to call it there. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Kimball. This was great.
Easy.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was really good.
Yeah, we'll have to catch up again sometime.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really enjoy using Appsembler, and I actually think I learned a few things about Appsembler that I did not know in creating my course. So I'm going to go back and like make some changes now that I know, that even more features.
Yeah, well, feel free to reach out if there's anything you want help with. That's for sure. Right.
Awesome sauce. Thanks so much.
Cool. Thank you very much for joining us.
Bye, everybody.